On this episode of AV Week, we wrap up 2017 with a very impressive group of panelists. We talk about the biggest stories of 2017, what made the news, and what will impact the next year. All that and more next on AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AV Week, episode 331, recorded Thursday, December 21st, 2017. 2017 in review.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Atlas IED, innovative audio solutions for every business environment, and by AVIXA, the Audio Visual and Integrated Experience Association.
This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. This is probably my favorite show of the year, simply because I get to kind of kick back, relax. I don't have to pull any stories because I have a fine group of folks to give us the biggest stories of the year. This is kind of our year-in review, year-in preview program. So, without further ado, my peanut gallery for today's episode. First and foremost, buddy and pal and host of our Resi Week program. His name is Matt D. Scott, and oh yeah, he's a CEDIA board member.
Well, yes, but not. I think so.
What do you think so?
Well, no, I am. I don't know if it's official yet until 2018.
Well, they did a press release. It's official.
Well, no, yeah.
No, he's a board member
yet,
elect.
That's right. He's an elected board member. Board member elect. Thank you for the clarification.
Bradford knows what's up.
Bradford knows what's
yes.
up. All right.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Ms. Corey Schaefer from QSC. How are you, ma'am?
I am fabulous. Thank you. Good to be here.
Also with us, my buddy and pal, and I am one of her biggest fans. Her name is Megan Dutta, and she works for SCN. How are you?
Hi, how are you? Glad to be here.
Also, a long hiatus for this young man. He jumped. Actually, I think almost all of you folks, except for Matt, has jumped companies this year. His name is Chris Netto. No, Corey moved last year. I'm sorry. His name is Chris Netto. He works for Barco. How are you, sir?
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm good.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. All right. Last but not least, and this is officially the biggest group I've ever had on. He needs no introduction because he is the benevolent misanthrope, webmaster extraordinaire, and all things good in AV. His name is Bradford Ben. How are you, sir?
I am doing oddly. I am, as of 3 hours ago, I'm no longer a Harman professional employee.
We're recording this December 21st. So
yes. So, Corey, do I send my resume to you, or do I send it to Chris, or do I send it to Megan?
Yes, and yes.
Okay.
Yeah, don't send it to Matt. He won't. He doesn't hire anybody.
Well, no. Then it's international, and it's it's a lot of drama.
He already works for me now that you've made the mistake of since I'm no longer a Harman employee, having power within AVNation and setting up all of our information systems.
Well, that's true. That is true. All right, let's
keep
kick
the
this.
web host happy.
Well, yeah, absolutely. You keep
the web host happy. Don't give Tim the keys.
You keep the net admin happy.
This week, don't give Bradford the keys?
No, this was Microsoft bug, not us.
Oh, that's
okay.
True.
Now we're talking way inside baseball. So back on track here. Corey, I'm going to start with you baseball. On this. What was your biggest one or two stories of this year?
So QSC, I think our biggest story was we started the year off with the ISE show talking about our platform, which is QSys, and taking it off of a QSC product and putting it on a Dell server. So really decoupling the software from purpose-built hardware. And I think we're definitely going to see a lot of this happen in the industry, because I think the day of purpose-built product to do a certain thing is over. So it's not about the product anymore. I am going to throw another one at you, though, that kind of came later this year that honestly kind of took me off guard. And it was the announcement that Rashid and the company that he works for has purchased BiAmp, and that he'll be at the helm as president and CEO. And then my buddy Ron Camden, who is retiring, and then as soon as that announcement was made, then is no longer retiring. So, that one came late. And I don't think, I knew that Rashid, I saw him at ISE last year when we announced the decoupling of QSIS on a purpose-built product. So I saw him and I knew that he was looking for companies in our industry to purchase, but I just didn't see that one coming. And I think it's great for him, and I also think it's good for BiAmp, and they're hanging on to Ron a little bit longer until they find his replacement. And I think he's irreplaceable. I
will say there is no truth to the rumor that Ron came back because he heard I was looking to take over that role.
Actually, that's exactly what Ron told me last week off of the air when he was on AVWeek.
Yeah, off record, right?
Yeah. Corey, I would agree with you. And the one thing I would say is I was actually talking with Joanne Drulis, who is also coming back with Rashid. I don't know Rashid that well. I know Joe really well from his days at AMX. And the one thing that he said when we interviewed him that week, he said this was their first foray into AV. This is the first company that they look at. And so that to me is a not very subtle indication that Highland Partners is not done purchasing AV companies yet.
Yeah, Tim, and I think, when I saw Rashid last year and he mentioned, what he was looking for, he really didn't see a company that was, quote, large enough that really met the needs that they were looking for. And I believe Rashid is looking to give possibly Harman a little run for their money by putting a few companies together.
Yep.
Now, I do want to say, as a nerd, I am very impressed by the virtualization and how forward-thinking and how freeing that is by QSC, and the fact that decouples it from hardware revisions and chip revisions and BIOS and blah, blah, blah. This is huge. This is a huge milestone for all of us in the AV industry, especially, in my opinion, for the end users and the integrators that win. This makes installing and maintaining these systems much easier when it's virtualized. Also the thing that not everyone thinks about, but having supported virtual systems at Harman, the fact that they can send you a virtual machine as an image during troubleshooting, that took my troubleshooting time down immensely. So I got to applaud QSC for all the impact this has and how much it actually is a benefit directly to the end user that's not always obvious or discussed.
Yeah, our conversation is just all about, it's about the platform. It's no longer about the product. It's really about the platform and what it'll do for you.
Absolutely.
Sure. So.
All right, Ms. Dutta, if you're not familiar with Megan Dutta, I met her when she worked for Peerless AV a number of years ago, and she transitioned from Peerless and is now the editor. What is your official title? Could you guys just change titles?
I did. So my new title is Content Director.
Content Director at SCN. So you, from a couple different angles, give me your one or two biggest stories of the year.
So I'm going to kind of combine a lot of stories into one story that has yet to be written, but as the title of the story has been on social media a lot, everybody acquires everybody. She just talked about it a little bit with BiAmp. We've seen AVISPL make big moves, diversified, and everyone's kind of gobbling everybody up. And I know I can't say who, but I know there'll be another big announcement in 2 weeks or so. So I think we're just going to, that's been huge this year, and we're going to keep seeing that in 2018.
Agreed. And it's not just at the manufacturer or integrator level, it's happening at the end user level as well, right? So with Microsoft buying LinkedIn, I mean, you're just seeing seeing a lot of consolidation occurring.
Yeah. Even, Amazon and Whole Foods.
Yeah.
There's all these connections that you never thought you'd make before, but they're making them.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll throw another one at you, and it's completely outside of our industry, but I honestly believe it'll have a bigger impact. And that is Disney gobbling everybody up with the announcement of buying the bulk of 20th Century Fox.
Right.
Not only from a content delivery standpoint and a content manager standpoint, but also from a internet access point. And not to throw back to net neutrality from a couple of weeks ago, but they and a couple other companies that have content parts, but also they have relationships with ISPs. That's going to become a bigger and bigger player. And as crazy as it sounds, there very well may be somebody that is an ISP that looks to purchase a video conferencing soft codec to streamline, right? That's one of the things, one of the arguments against the repeal of the net neutrality rules is companies favoring their products. So
now, Tim, I do want to, in the interest of full disclosure and clarity,
yes,
I do want to mention that Tim at home uses the Disney Circle firewall to keep his family under control.
It doesn't work.
We've seen how well that works as his young son started texting me out of the blue with the direct question of who dis?
Who dis? Yes, who dis? No, I shouldn't say that. The Circle works for, it's a time and filter product. It actually works pretty well.
But what's interesting to that is that's already showing Disney making a first foray into the home network and that structure. And then if you look at other things like, the fact that Hulu partnerships and buying Fox, I think you're right on there of they're creating a whole experience. Mm-hmm. And I do think it's going to impact our industry. Just think about the theme parks they can build.
Okay, yes, but it will impact our industry, and Disney is one of the biggest players in the HDCP and the HDMI consortium, which directly impacts us as well, the folks who put these systems together and try to get those signals from point A to point B in a distributed fashion, when a lot of times one of the biggest choke points is dealing with the content protection that is on these signals, right? And so they're going to have a bigger seat at that table. So whatever, I do not want this to sound Machiavellian, but whatever Disney wants, Disney's going to get in those discussions.
Now, I will say, let me paint them also as beneficial to our industry.
Okay.
Did you know that Disney was lobbying against some of the wireless antenna reforms and wireless microphone frequencies because of the impact to them and their operations and all this other stuff? And these are the things that they do that help our industry that we don't always realize because we're looking at the front of house stuff of all these new things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
all right, Mr. Netto, we will give you the floor here and let you give us your one or two biggest stories of the year.
Whiteboards, man, come on.
Oh my gosh.
Last year we all ran around.
You're breaking up, Chris. You're breaking up.
Tim, I took you back because last year at this time everybody was exploding with these things, saying how great they are. How are they working out for you? Good. Whiteboards is the biggest.
Whiteboards.
Yeah.
Wait up, hardware based or software based?
Don't encourage him.
Well,
don't encourage him.
This sounds funny, but you think about all the huddle technology I had at my disposal with Samsung touchscreens and AMX huddle spaces and all this. You know what my number one collaboration tool was? My 4-foot by 6-foot whiteboard in my office, and occasionally putting a camera on it to talk with someone remotely and just using a dry erase marker.
That's not what he's talking about. He's talking about he's talking about
what you're talking about actually is leading to that. Everybody came with this big, everybody going into Infocom. The hype was, oh my God, all these electronic whiteboards, and who didn't show one?
Right.
Whiteboard was the new 4K. It was the new collaboration. You put it, whatever buzzword you want to put into it. So this year started with this emergence of the whiteboard and what happened to it. I haven't heard much. So maybe it's back to chalkboards. I don't know. For a lot of people. Some people will say they had great experience with that. For me, 2017, couple big things. Obviously, net neutrality, and we've all spoken about that and have our points on that. I'm not going to dwell too much on that. I'll let you guys do that. The other thing is, yes, mergers and acquisitions. It happens, man. We're so numb to it at this point that it's like, we get up, we turn on our phones, and who got what? That's pretty much how it's become. So I don't know if it's a shock at this point anymore. And can 2018 deliver more than that?
Well,
but aside, an after effect of that is, and I didn't get acquired or merged. I left on my own accords. But how many people hit the road this year, and how many people changed employers? All right. Some of them as a result of mergers and acquisitions, others found an opportunity. I think that speaks volumes to the health of our industry. That there is these opportunities out there for people to pick up and go. If you have some experience, it's great, and the education is starting to get there with certifications and stuff, and people are starting to look at that sort of stuff, backgrounds on people's resumes. So 2017 was a very complicated year, man. There was a lot of things happening and moving, and what we thought was going to be big in the beginning kind of, in my opinion, kind of fizzled out. And then there have been some big technology booms that have come in, and obviously I work for a company now, so I can't say that my video wall doesn't change some things in the video wall business. For the people that have seen it, it does do some really cool stuff. That's up to you. I'll let you decide. It's better off.
Well, to be clear, to be clear about what Chris was talking about, he's talking about the Unity product that was released in October, right? It's remarkable, right? And I think most of us here know, if you've seen it, it is remarkable. It's gorgeous. And one of the things that Chris did during the during the reveal was he does what Chris does, goes to social media and streams it, right? And I remember talking with some folks at Barco in Indianapolis and saying, one of the comments on Chris's video that just kind of caught my eye as kind of funny is somebody was commenting and saying, is that two salespeople doing that? I mean, was it two salespeople, interacting and putting a Unity panel up? And it was, and nothing against salespeople. God love them. We need them. But there is a definite.
They refer to as suits, Tim. Suits.
Yeah, suits. Okay, suits. But there is the impression that they don't know what they're doing when it comes to technology, especially new technology. Right? They may have at one point, but as you maturing and leave that part of the industry, sometimes you get rusty, and there's that implication, and the fact that those two people were able to interact with the Unity was telling, I think.
But it's also reflecting on a lot of other things that are going on within the industry, and I think simplification of technology and simplifications of designs are leading to that. QSC did not go to their server-based system just because it was just a cool thing. It was a simplification of what others have been trying to do and couldn't do, so they've done it. And there's been other products out there that people have been like, why didn't I think of that? Well, even room designs, complicated room systems are a weird conversation right now, because you have huddle spaces and then you got boardrooms and then you got the great unknown. What are you going to do with that middle section? Is that an all, an all out of the box ecosystem from a company? Is it a video conferencing solution? Again, all out of the box from another company, but that's what you're getting. So in the middle spaces, your designs have been really simplified this past year, even more so than any other year, and it's only going to get easier going to the future. So,
yeah.
Now I want to jump back to ask Chris a follow-up question.
Yeah.
And Megan and Corey and Matt and Tim, you too, since we're not talking about the Bears, I'm wondering
Megan is a Bears fan too. Leave her alone.
Okay, so we're not talking about the Blues.
That pretty much puts Tim as the only fan of the Blues.
Absolutely.
Yes. In the whole world, I found out.
In the world, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But on the
stadium's
serious,
empty except for Tim. Tim's the only one who shows up.
That stadium's a lonely place.
I get great seats, just for the record, but go ahead and ask your question.
So the more serious question is, I am wondering, does the level of mergers and acquisitions that are occurring show the health and stability of this industry and the growth opportunities? Because we all know the amount of money we're talking about isn't like, let me write you a check. It's, let's look at financing. Let's look at this, all that type of stuff. So I just kind of curious what everyone else thinks about this level of joining together and acquisitions.
Well, I can't speak for my company on that sense, but we did we announced an acquisition this year in WePresent. It fills a need for us. It gave us a play or a market within the educational space. Take that as you will. I mean, but I have other wireless devices. But
so here's I'm actually going to answer Bradford's question, because we had a financial advisor on when we did the special on the Legrand milestone purchase, right? Bradford, you were on that.
With Ari, and actually he and I are still communicating via LinkedIn, talking about acquisitions and stuff, including stuff like SodaStream.
Well, here's the thing. He views it as a good thing. Now, he's a financial guy, so let's understand that. But he views it as a good thing, because if these companies were not financially viable, if they were not healthy, they were not profitable, they would not be as attractive to the people picking them up, right? You look at it, go back to Buyamp. Highland Partners did not pick up Buyamp because they were a failing company they thought they could get for cheap. They were a successful company that they thought that they could make some changes to and make a return on their investment. And that's the one thing that I think a lot of folks are not realizing fully, I think, because we are moving from a mom and pop sole ownership industry to an investment and stockholder owned industry. It's drastically different, right? And the mentality is different. We've viewed that. We watched that with the Samsung Harman situation. I'm not just talking about the layoffs. I'm talking about some other things that moves and shakes that they've made, simply because they have a fiduciary responsibility to their stockholders to give them a return on their investment. They do that by becoming profitable and growing through acquisition and growing through sales. Same thing here is you're going to see maybe products not move as quickly, or maybe move quicker, because again, these companies are looking to grow quickly and make a return on the investment.
For sure. When I started at Peerless in 2006, I think we had a list of maybe 20 or 30 competitors. And by the time I left, it was hundreds, because just mounting systems were so commoditized, which speaks volumes about, people are wanting to get in on the game. And even according to AVWeek, we're big money industry. Hold on, I'm going to pull up the exact stat. But by 2022, this is according to AVWeek, they're expecting the industry to be a $231 billion industry. And that's up $50 billion from last year. Yeah. That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. And
are we not going to give a shout out to AVWeek for changing their name?
That's mine. Back off. What are you doing? You already had your chance.
Stop. Go ahead.
You plugged your stuff.
If nobody was going to mention it, I was going to mention it when you guys were done. But go ahead,
Chris,
Matt.
We finally let you back in, and you blow the show up. What are you doing?
He didn't blow the show up. He stole your one thing.
I'm used to doing my own show. That's blowing up my show.
Well, let me take over from all of you, because it's my show.
Today it is.
Actually,
you're unemployed. It can't be your show.
I can delete this. So
this is actually,
I will say the biggest news of the year for everyone was Dave Labuscus and I meeting on a plane on the way to India for him to debut AVWeek in India. That is the milestone moment of 2017.
And here's the thing. Here's what happened.
Did you write it on a first-class napkin?
I will almost
be like, Dave,
this.
You should change this.
This happened after that. Every person remotely involved in AVWeek's PR and marketing saw the tweets that were happening between Mr. Labuscus and Bradford and go, oh, crap, they're going to be in a plane together for 12 hours.
Yeah, but he got to fly up front because of his status.
Mm-hmm.
I was in seat 23J. And the reason I know it's 23J is because on those international flights, that's always my seat.
Okay, interesting. All right, Matt, go ahead. You got the floor. What was your one or two stories of the year?
Well, now I don't have one because Chris blew it up. No, for me, like everyone else said, it was all the acquisitions, all the mergers, all of that, which seemed to be at a much greater pace than it has in the past. But the big one to me, the one that got me kind of the most excited, was the AVWeek name change from Infocom, and the reasoning behind that to focus on the experience and all of that, opposed to just the AV. And I think the part of that name change that kind of excited me and disappointed me all at the same time was they went and changed their name. Obviously, they're entitled to do it. All of us who are members, we really don't have a say in that. they changed their name, and in my mind, the companies and the individuals who are forward thinking were over the moon excited about that name change due to the, shall we say, refocusing on experience and on what AV can bring beyond just the technology side of it, get it to what clients and customers actually understand. And then you had a reasonably large and reasonably vocal group that were up in arms over how dare you change the name? How dare you try and change what we do? We do AV, we do speakers, we do video. That's what we do. And to me, it kind of exposed some of the broadness of the industry, shall we say, and the bit of the divide between the more progressive and more, shall we say, sometimes younger skewed.
I was going to say older and younger. You can say that.
I'm getting there. I'm just doing it politely because I'm Canadian. It's what we do.
You're the world's worst Canadian because the
I know, but I'm
proper
trying to
phrasing
get better.
would have been experienced and new industry people.
Sure. Yeah. The youngins, the this color hair versus Chris's color hair.
Just be happy you both have hair.
That's why I didn't bring you into it. I don't want to make you feel bad.
So I do want to interject on a serious note here.
Please do.
I think the move of changing to AVIXA is good. I also went through the ICIA days before it was Infocom. But the reason I think it's good is completely devoid of any of the other things. The reason I think it's good is because it separates Infocom, the organization, from Infocom, the trade show. Yeah. Because even if you look at the at the AVNation website, we have 4 or 5 different categories for Infocom. Infocom, the association, Infocom, the trade show, So I think that's a great thing. And as a CEDIA board member elect, I would recommend you guys think of something similar, because when you say CEDIA now, most people think of the trade show. They don't think of the organization.
Yeah, we changed it back.
Well, and I'm just going to jump in I'm going to jump in as well, Matt, and I'm going to say that they actually did ask members prior to changing the name. They just didn't. They kind of did it.
It wasn't overt.
Yeah, it wasn't overt.
Yeah.
Thank you, Megan, for helping me figure that out. So as they were surveying their members and asking questions, that really helped led them to the changing the name. And then I also think how they actually announced it to the industry was brilliant, because what they really did was get people out to just raise the flag for them and tell the story. And the way they announced it, I just thought was just so well done.
Yeah, I almost wish everybody could have been there, because their speeches were so empowering and they were so passionate about it. Like I obviously.
And the why. They talked about the why behind it.
Yeah.
Well, it was much better than it was much better than like a traditional, hey, here's the press release, we're going to do this. And I don't mean traditional to them. I don't think
they could have done that, by the way.
No, they definitely couldn't.
Could not have done that.
The fact that they actually recognized that storytelling was something that was going to bring out emotions and opinions as strongly as this did, the art of storytelling and going through that story and the history of that was done very well, and I think helped that transition a whole lot better. And Bradford, just on the CEDIA note, in 2018 they are going back to CEDIA Expo opposed to CEDIA the show and the organization, because yes, it's amazing how many marketing people are involved to name two things the same.
But I think CEDIA Expo, the connotation of CEDIA is going to remain the Expo.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think that the Commercial Electronics Dealer Industry Association.
Are you talking about CEDIA?
Yeah. That actual organization.
That's totally off.
That's totally wrong.
But that's kind of my point. Needs to define itself.
He did have
better.
a picture of margaritas, right?
He did. Oh. Yeah.
All right, so let me give you my two at the same time, and it actually wraps around the AVIXA announcement.
Don't forget about voice.
You said
Voice isn't done, but Voice is over a year old now. That was a 2016 story. That was CEDIA 2016 when Amazon showed off at CEDIA Expo. I had probably one of the most fulfilling events of my career as a journalist in this industry was that week. And I'm sitting in the auditorium with Megan and with other members of the press, and there are two things happening at the same time. Several of us are getting texts and emails and notifications and, hey, did you hear this? That Harman has laid off 650 employees while we're doing the AVIXA announcement. And it was fascinating watching all these people that I love and respect, and I use their stories on a weekly basis, work their tails off on not one major story, but two at the exact same time. And it was impressive, and just my hats off to them and their efforts and the crap ton of work they put in that week, because those two stories, and not a whole lot of people realize this, happened almost simultaneously for members of the press. So,
sorry, I was going to say on that note, I also want to give Dave Labuskis some credit and all of the AVIXA team because that stuff all happened. And when I saw Dave in the plane and we had our big meeting, his first thing was trying not to ask. But then as soon as he asked, because I brought it up as the elephant in the plane, it wasn't it was, okay, how do I help you?
Yeah.
How can I help other people in the industry? It wasn't a AVIXA thing. It was okay, we got all this going on, but we have people. We have, 650 people who are being impacted, people he's known for years, people I've known for years. And Dave, even during the Infocom show, made time to sit down with me and talk about strategy and of finding new jobs and how to look at that. That's not an AVIXA thing. That's Dave as a person and the industry in general helping each other. Mm-hmm. And I think that's some of the stuff that kind of got lost in the AVIXA and Infocom thing is the AVIXA and Harman stuff. Some of the things I've seen from the AVIXA team during that time just outright amazed me and made me, it sounds funny, in the worst of times, it made me feel good, but I'll save that for later.
So you're all feeling the wave of AVIXA just coming over you and making you feel all warm and snuggly like that fake fire I have back there. So let me explain to you my point of view, which may not be the same as everybody else's. I have nothing against what they said or what they did. But as of right now, Tim, you can tell me what day or when was this announcement made?
Oh, you would have made me look back at my calendar.
September 12th.
September, yeah.
September 12th, 2017.
I don't have the warm and fuzzies just yet because I've held back my opinion. And the reason why is because the day of that announcement, they said, give us some time. So I'm doing that. Okay. I'm not feeling that right now because I want to see. Right now, to me, it's a name change. I can go down and go through the process of changing my name to Bob, but I'm still Chris. So as of right now, I'm going to give a little bit of the benefit of the doubt that this is going to happen, but it's going to be a slow-moving iceberg process, glacier. I don't know. And I also have to be the voice of the people that are going to be watching this thing, man. There's people sitting there watching this going, you guys are just, going down that road. I spoke as similar to Bradford. About a week after that, I sat down with Brad Grimes and he asked, so what did you think? And I said, I don't have a thought. I don't want to give you a thought because you asked for 6 to 9 months. So I will reserve that. I want to give AVIXA 6 to 9 months before I become a naysayer of what was done. But I think that come ISC, they're probably going to start unveiling some of the stuff. And if they don't, then the clock starts ticking for Infocom. But by Infocom, if nothing is revealed, there's going to be a lot of very broken-hearted people on the internet expressing their pain.
But Nato, don't you think you're starting to see it with things like the Tide element of first the trade show, and they're going to pull that in, to other events as well, which is really about
they're doing it at ISE as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually think the bigger example, though, sorry to jump on you, Chris, is the fact they went to a bankers conference to talk with them. That's some of the stuff they're talking about. But I agree with Chris that it's a name change at the moment. I've seen him go to the bankers thing just from listening to the AVNation podcast from a couple of months ago.
You have to give it time to develop, right? And yes, Corey, the Tide conference was great. That happened at Infocom, 3-4 months before VIX's name change.
But they were already in the throes of that. They were already,
right, they're carrying it to ISC.
They could have announced it then.
Yeah, they're carrying it to ISC. They're talking to so many of the end users. So as Bradford said, that bankers, et cetera. But also, if you look at the stats from the trade show that they hosted in June, it's clear that there are changes happening.
Well, I will say there are changes happening and they're talking to the end users, but I don't think they're helping grow the AV market on the pro side, such as I'm big in theme parks. I go to the IAPA trade show. I stopped. Harman decided to stop exhibiting after we did it a couple years ago because of the amount of time and effort it took us to explain why you need audio and video in the theme parks. Now, what does theme parks sell? They sell the family experience. And so I think the fact that they went to the banker show is staying within the market. That's the commercial education and government market.
But he's been going to be fair, he's been going to a show, like it seems like to me every couple of weeks he's going to different shows. And I actually think he was at that show. Actually,
Dave and I talked about it at IAPA, which is the International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions. Since I have the rule, you can't use the acronym if you can't say it. So I'm not allowed to use that C word anymore. But he's like, no, that's not someone we're working with at the moment. And I told him I was disappointed as a person, not speaking on behalf of anyone. I'm like, they're selling experiences. We're selling experiences.
Yeah, that's a great show for that.
Yeah. It's also the best place to get free popcorn and Dippin' Dots.
I don't know what the hell's going on over here, but
why?
I agree with Bradford as well.
Oh, God.
And it's painful as that is to say, because we are two polar opposites in many ways. AVs have been in the experience business for many years. It's just that it's been like that uncle that you don't want to let out in front of all your friends because he's kind of weird and creepy. He just saw it in the back over there. And
like me.
Could be. I don't
Thank
know.
you for saying that, Bradford.
So,
everyone was thinking it very loudly.
If you want to talk about amusement parks as the experience, absolutely. Retail has been dealing with the experience for many years, storefronts and digital signage and all that. But that's always been kind of off into the back, and we've been focused on the box, right? Yes, it sounds really cool. You put an X in the name, you make it something. Now let's do it.
But isn't that part of it though? To start there,
yeah,
and then slowly but surely start to actually market off that. Yeah, and use that branding to get there.
And that's also, to Chris's point, it's going to take time, right?
Yeah.
This is not something that they could have announced in mid-September. Everybody in the industry goes, yay, and everybody in ancillary industries goes, oh, that's what you guys are now. Okay, now I get it, right? It's not just about the name. It's the other stuff that they're doing, like sending Mr. Labuscus and Dan Goldstein and all the other AVIXA folks to these various other shows that do not have AV as part of their makeup, right? And evangelizing, basically. And I think they use the term, growing the pie a couple of different times during the announcement, right? By going to these other markets. So.
And helping the members really communicate what they do, because as members, most people in the industry talk about their box. They're not talking about changing the overall experience. The members have been very challenged by that. They're talking about specs is what they're talking about.
Yeah, the spec has always been a problem because the answer is that customer, that end user, when they walk into a finished product, that reaction, that emotion, that feeling that they get when they experience properly installed, properly working, and this is what they imagined. I mean, that's ultimately it.
Or more than what they imagined, right?
We
Mhm.
want to bring, things to life that they can only have imagined. So
Yeah.
I think it's a step in the right direction, but I'm going to reserve again. I'm the one who's going to pull back and say, you know what, I'll give you the 6 to 9 months and let's see where it goes.
Yeah,
Uh,
6 months
And-
will be ISE. So, all
And
right.
I-
Speaking of ISE and 2018, it is upon us. So, Miss Megan Dutta, we'll give you the first crack at this. What's going to be
Wait
the
up,
biggest
you
story?
didn't ask me what my biggest stories of 2017 were.
You've commented
was
on
you.
everybody else's. I'm sorry. I thought you had kind of said yours. Go ahead, Bradford.
Rebel.
I'm the biggest story of 2017.
There we go.
And I say that tongue in cheek, but to be a little more serious, I do think not from my personal impact, but from just what the overall impact of this will be is the amount and percentage of the Harmon layoff.
Yeah.
I think it's going to have results and repercussions for years to come, because of, we can talk all about speed to market, and you had a good interview with Mohit a little while ago, but I'm leaving. Other people who have been with the company 10, 20 years are leaving, and we're going to go someplace else. It's kind of like, and this is where I'm really dating myself. If we go back to 2002, when Harmon started becoming a monolith and redid all of their U.S. sales representatives, that was a huge change in the representative market. There are rep firms that aren't rep firms anymore, unfortunately, because now, all of these brands were together, and that was a repercussion. So this is another one of those big repercussions of the amount of people impacted will have an issue.
Yeah.
Of just, how do you replace 20 years of knowledge walking out the door? And I know Mohit's talking about the knowledge transfer in libraries, and I've been doing all of that and have been taking part in it, but there's still a whole lot of people that are going to be going to other places in the industry.
I listened to that interview, and that was the big thing that caught my attention, was how he talked about doing knowledge capture and all of that. And, he tried to, in my opinion, not upsell it, but, hey, we're doing this great job to try and capture as much knowledge as possible as people are going out the door. And on the outside, and I'll be honest, I've never been a part of a company anywhere near that size, never been involved with a company anywhere near that size. That even in my small company, when we have someone leave, as much as I want them to, give us every bit of information that they have, information about jobs and projects that they may not have written down somewhere, they're never going to do that. And I don't think we can underestimate how much loss of information is going to happen from this.
No,
How much that information is going to get scattered.
And it actually goes back to the Avixa part. It'll take some time to really figure it out, and I don't know that you're going to see the full ramifications of it today or tomorrow or even next year, because all of us understand that in this industry, the jobs that take place in this industry take a year or 2 years. Or Bradford's been a part of several amusement parks, 7 years to fully get up to speed. So. All right, that'll do it for us. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Mr. Bradford Ben, I will give you the top spot in here. I think you deserve it. How do people find you if they would like to at this stage of the game?
At this stage of the game, being that I have nothing on my calendar until January 2nd at the moment when I talk with a real estate agent, I would say you can either go to bradfordben.com. You can follow me on Twitter instead of following Tim at bradfordben. Also, I am at the AVNation.tv website doing a whole bunch of updates. And as I joked with some of the people at the office today while I was leaving, if you Google Bradford Ben and you can't find me, or use your first favorite search engine, I don't want to be your friend.
Who is winning for AV Person of the Year? Is it you?
I will say that it is more interesting than I thought. I also will say, and I know I'm a little disappointed in our listenership. I know you shouldn't talk bad about your audience, there's 25 votes, but not a whole bunch from multiple people. Some companies are stuffing the ballot boxes.
I'm gonna vote again today.
Okay.
And did you see my vote? Can that person win?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. She didn't vote for you.
I know.
All right, Ms. Corey Schaefer, thank you so much. How do people find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, or at QSC. So it's Corey, Cory, .Schaefer, SCHAEFFER at QSC.com.
Ms. Megan Dutta, thank you so much, ma'am. I always appreciate
thanks
your
for
time.
having me.
Absolutely.
So you can find me on the Twitter at SCN Magazine, or my personal Twitter is Megan A. Dutta, no H, because H's are ew.
Wow. Sorry,
Okay.
Yeah,
what?
but then you could be Meg Han.
H's are who?
H's are ew. Don't you
Ew.
watch Jimmy Fallon?
Ew.
No,
Oh my
You think I
gosh.
have enough time to watch
Ew.
TV?
you do now.
I got you, Megan.
All
It's
right,
the,
Mr.
it's
Matt
the
D.
age thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mr. Matt
yeah.
D. Scott,
Ew.
host of our Resi show, and God love him, he just did his first ever end of the year this episode on Resi Week. He
Yeah.
also did his first ever best of.
It was fun.
It was 5 minutes, but
The best of. Thanks.
Well, we
Yeah.
had to edit out all the time of you talking about how great you are now that you're a CD Elect board member.
true. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah,
Now,
because
because-
I'm
What does CDS stand for again?
yeah, Bradford.
I would have to ask a board member because that was my exact point.
All right, Matt. How do people find you, sir?
You can find me on Twitter at Matt D. Scott and every other social platform as I go into my spiel from Resi Week. Pretty much just like Bradford say, Google me. I'm really easy to find. And I don't have an H in my name because, well, H's are ew. See, I know. I got it.
Well,
He's got it.
Yeah, I got it.
all right. Now don't save me from these two.
I do have
We're gonna start saying my stepdad
No.
Tim.
Now, just so you know,
my God.
Christopher has 2 H's. So no one be making fun of Christopher.
I'm doubly,
Ew.
How do people find you, Chris?
and that is Chris.
Or Barco?
Chris with an H is my no, it's not. At Chris Fernando on the Twitters. Barco is at Barco. You can find them there as well on the Twitters. I would like to wish everybody a happy and joyous holiday season, Tim included. Because
Wait up. My prediction for 2017 is Tim will once again injure himself while on vacation and break his other foot.
It has
It's
to be the other
2018.
2018. Yeah, that's right. Tim is due for his winter extravaganza. This
Yeah,
is
don't remind my wife of that.
does
She's
the
already
snowbird thing, and he
she's already
disappears
threatened.
for like a week, and
Yeah.
this is great.
If you missed our coverage of ISE last year, during my winter break, I broke my right foot and spent. I covered ISE with a boot on it.
as Matt would say, tell us about it.
It's a boot. So
Yeah, tell us about it.
a boot. All right. Thank you all so much. My name is Tom Albert. Don't follow me as they have all made fun of me because I've been saying that for 6 years. But go by the website if you would please, AVNation.tv. AVNation.tv. You will find this program and a host of others. While you're there, please check out our underwriters. They help us financially. They support us and allow us to do shows like this and go to ISE. And I get to hang out with Megan and Matt in Amsterdam as we all traverse the great Atlantic to go to cover Integrated Systems Europe. Also, while you're there, Megan mentioned and Bradford mentioned the AVNation Awards. The nomination process is coming to a close, and we will shortly reveal the top spots for all of our categories. And so the month of January will be actually the voting. So we'll be bugging you about voting now. So check that out as well. All kinds of specials coming up. Bradford mentioned our interview with Mohit Parashar from Harman Pro. We've got one on networked audio, and we also have some previews for ISE. All of that and more at the Bradford Ben designed and maintained website, avnation.tv, avnation.tv. Thank you so much for listening this year, and thank you so much for listening next year. That's all the time we have for AV Week.